In an effort to ease political tensions in Senegal, participants in a national consultation have reached consensus on revisiting the trial of Karim Wade, a key political figure disqualified from the 2019 election due to legal complications. Karim, the son of former President Abdoulaye Wade, had been sentenced for illicit enrichment but was pardoned by President Macky Sall in 2016. Moving to the electoral law, the consultation has opened the door for potential amendments that could see the reinstatement of voting and candidacy rights for those previously disqualified, including Wade and another opponent, Khalifa Sall. The implications of this agreement could change the political landscape, but whether Wade will step into the 2024 presidential race remains uncertain. Finally, all eyes are now on President Macky Sall, as the proposals from this crucial dialogue will be presented to him. Despite the anticipation, Sall has kept his cards close to his chest, leaving many to speculate about his possible run for a third term in 2024. But one thing is for sure, the future of Senegal's political landscape hangs in the balance as we await the outcome of this national dialogue. Zimbabwe is gearing up for a presidential election this August, with the Electoral Commission confirming 11 candidates in the race. However, several potential contenders, including the only female candidate, Linda Masarira, were disqualified due to the steep $20,000 candidacy fee, a hike from the previous $1,000 in 2018. The showdown is likely to be between the incumbent President Emerson Mnangagwa, representing the ZANU-PF party, and Nelson Chamisa of the Citizens Coalition for Change, a pastor and lawyer. Not to be overlooked, independent candidate Xavier Kasukawere, a former minister in Robert Mugabe's cabinet, is expected to draw votes in ZANU-PF strongholds. As the Zimbabwean dollar suffers a significant drop against the US dollar, Mnangagwa seeks a second term amid economic turmoil, maintaining that the election process is peaceful and represents a mature democracy. However, the opposition criticizes the sharp increase in candidacy fees, casting a shadow over the upcoming elections. Tigray, a region in northern Ethiopia, is facing severe famine even 7 months after the end of a devastating 2-year conflict. The situation is set to worsen as food aid from the UN World Food Program, WFP, and the U.S. government aid agency, USAID, was recently suspended due to misappropriations, leaving the region's 6 million inhabitants in an increasingly desperate state. The pain is personal for residents like Desta Hailu, who recently lost an aunt to starvation and now fears for the survival of her 5 orphaned children. Despite the return of basic services like electricity, banking, and telecommunications since the peace agreement, hunger continues to persist, with many resorting to selling aid items to afford food and basic necessities. Among those affected is Gain Gebrselassie, a surgeon from Adigrat, who deems the suspension of food aid a death sentence. His family relies on aid due to unpaid wages, and his malnourished children have contracted infections, reflecting the broader crisis in the region. Isabel dos Santos, the daughter of Angola's late former president, has been convicted of embezzling €52 million from Angola's national oil company by a Dutch court. The court found that the funds were diverted to a Dutch company, Exam Energy BV, that she owns with her husband. This ruling is the latest in a string of judgments against dos Santos, who was once known as Africa's richest woman. She is accused of embezzling billions from state-owned companies during her father José Eduardo dos Santos's 40-year rule, which ended with his death in July 2022. Despite the court's declaration that many entities were complicit in the fraudulent procurement of €52.6 million, dos Santos continues to deny any wrongdoing, labeling the accusations as a politically motivated witch hunt. Cindy McCain, head of the World Food Program, WFP, is appealing to the international community for aid as Somalia faces escalating food insecurity due to armed conflict and drought. Over a third of the population, or more than 6.6 million people, are expected to face food crises, including 1.8 million children predicted to suffer from acute malnutrition in 2023. Somalia, having just started to recover from 3 decades of chaos, is now dealing with armed conflicts that have caused over 1 million internal displacements since 2022, alongside 2.1 million displacements due to climatic disasters over the past 3 years. The WFP, however, is forced to curtail its vital food aid due to insufficient resources, serving only 3 million people per month, down from a record 4.7 million people in December. Despite significant achievements made against extremist group Al-Shabaab, it remains a substantial threat, with a recent uptick in the scale and geographical spread of its attacks. The UN's appeal for a $2.6 billion humanitarian aid plan for Somalia in 2023 is currently only about 30% funded. Somalia's first singles app, Gurdoon, is aiding citizens to find potential life partners amidst a backdrop of national challenges. Launched by the Giriasimo Family Development Center, the platform, which translates to seeking marriage, is based on Islamic values and traditions and aims to resolve compatibility issues among couples beyond financial aid. The app, which costs $1 to subscribe, has already seen tens of thousands of signups, despite server crashes in its early days. It offers a safe, digital space for interaction, especially for women, in a largely Muslim country with conservative norms. However, the idea of online matchmaking has drawn skepticism from those who see it as a deviation from traditional values. Despite this, many are optimistic, hoping for a successful match, or at least, a learning experience in courtship. The closure of a dozen camps in northeast Nigeria, declared secure by authorities, has led to an influx of displaced people seeking refuge in remaining camps, causing overcrowding and resource scarcity. Despite reduced attacks, jihadists remain active, forcing thousands to flee to the state capital, Maiduguri, where camps like GSSS, designed for 25,000 people, now host 100,000 according to the United Nations. Food insecurity is a growing concern, with around 4.4 million people at risk in the Northeast, and daily survival activities like wood and metal collection becoming increasingly risky. Lack of food aid has driven many, like Aisha Usman, a 40-year-old mother, to resort to begging and sending her children to sell water on the streets. The Islamic State of West Africa, ISWAP, continues to pose a significant threat in the region, and despite Borno State authorities' plans to close all camps by 2026, NGOs argue that it's still unsafe for people to return to their villages and farmland. FC Barcelona has condemned the racist insults directed at Nigerian basketball player James Naji prior to the Spanish Basketball Championship final. The club has reported the incident to the competition organizers, the ACB, and expects firm action against any racial or verbal abuse. Videos from the match venue, the Wisink Center in Madrid, show several Madrid fans hurling insults at the Barcelona players, with Naji reportedly being targeted with racist remarks. Barcelona's coach, Sarunas Jasikovičius, spoke out against the incident after the match, calling for an immediate end to such behavior. Despite the incident, FC Barcelona went on to win the Spanish league title with a 93-82 victory over Real Madrid, securing their 20th league championship. The victory followed a wave of support for Real Madrid's Brazilian footballer Vinicius Jr., who has also been a victim of racist abuse. Victor Wembanyama, standing tall with a height of 2.24 meters according to the NBA website, has always been a standout in basketball due to his size and extraordinary talent. His exceptional skills, nurtured from a young age in a family passionate about basketball, have seen him rise quickly through the ranks, making his professional debut at just 15. His game is often compared to the likes of Dirk Nowitzki, with his ability to shoot, pass, and run, making him a versatile player on the court. His journey has been marked by significant achievements, including being crowned French champion with Asvel, becoming the new face of French basketball, and impressing American stars like LeBron James during exhibition matches in Las Vegas. However, as Wembanyama prepares for the 2023 NBA draft, concerns about his physique persist, with suggestions that he needs to bulk up to withstand the rigors of the NBA. Despite this, his former coaches remain confident in his ability to adapt, and believe he will continue to grow while maintaining his physical qualities and shooting mechanics. Akinwumi Adesina, the president of the African Development Bank, has urged wealthy countries to fulfill their financial commitments to Africa at the Paris Summit for a new global financial pact. highlighting the impact of climate change on Africa. Adesina called for the world to meet its commitment of $100 billion, a sum he considers small in relation to the scale of the problem, but crucial to building trust with developing countries. Hosted by French President Emmanuel Macron, the summit aims to reshape the global financial system to better address poverty and the climate crisis, with over 50 heads of state in attendance. However, developing nations have pointed out the paradox of the countries most responsible for climate damage also being their main creditors, leaving poorer nations to bear the brunt of the climate crisis. The summit is not mandated to make formal decisions, but seeks to provide political momentum for key issues to be addressed in future international discussions, such as climate conferences. Activists and non-governmental organizations are urging for debt relief for poorer nations, including the cancellation of loans and a debt suspension clause for countries severely affected by climate events.